There we go.
Is that Brenda?
Subject to the recording being of suitable quality will be made available on the council's YouTube channel via a link from the council's website. Council, yes. Thank you.
So it's still working this morning? Does anyone?
Yeah, it's working for me. Councillors, do remember to turn your cell phones on to silent or off. Health and safety, as you know, we have 2 emergency exits at the front of the building and also behind me. And in the unlikely event of an emergency, please assemble at the playground, and we'll let you know when the building has been confirmed clear. Councillor Maynard, would you like to read the affirmation?
Thanks for the kids up there. There's a copy of the affirmation on the wall. Thank you. Thanks, Beth. Okay. So we pledge that we will faithfully and impartially use our skill, wisdom and judgment throughout discussions and deliberations ahead of us today in order to make responsible and appropriate decisions for the benefit of the South Wairarapa District at large. We commit individually and as a council to the principles of integrity and respect and to upholding the vision and values we have adopted in our long-term plan strategic document in order to energise, unify and enrich our district.
Councillor Maynard. Apology. We have an apology from Councillor Ross Vickery, who's been swamped with work. Do we have any other apologies? No. We have a mover to receive that apology. Councillor Glimmer, seconded Councillor Eames. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, the motion is carried. Do we have any conflicts of interest? Right, so we're now going to move on to submissions as per the schedule. So we only have 5 minutes including questions. I will remind councillors that it is questions only to submitters, and those questions should be as concise and to the point as possible to be fair. And a reminder to submitters that we have been allocated 5 minutes for an LTP or spatial plan submission, or 10 minutes if you are presenting to both. We presenters are to be reminded that we have read your submissions, and we suggest that you present key points in the first half of the allotted time and leave a certain amount of time for questions. Submitters are also asked to be polite and respectful, and they reserve the right to terminate a presentation at any time if submitters criticise elected members or staff or are being disrespectful or offensive. Right, so we now call on our first submitter, Aidan. Aidan, you've got 2 presentations, STP and long-term plan. Would you like to do them together or in 2 5-minute blocks? Fantastic. We'll give you a nod at 2 minutes and then one at 1 minute. Right. Just one second.
Not 2 minutes after.
It's not 2 minutes after you start, yeah.
Oh, you can, no, all right.
Go for it.
Marlene,
Sorry,
thanks so
yeah.
much for the opportunity this morning. I'll start off with my LTP submission. Decision 1, 3 Waters. You've already read what I've had to say. I think looking at option 2, I'd like to see, so why are those costs and options not priced out for years, or sorry, why are they priced out for years 1, 2 and 3? This is a 10-year long-term plan, not a 3-year plan. So why not schedule this work and costings into years 4, 5 and 6, therefore spreading out the costs over 6 years, decreasing the forecast increases and rates for years 1, 2 and 3. River roading. In my written submission, I agreed with option 1. However, I now want to submit that after last year's annual plan and in response to submissions from the Ruakapa Petuna community, Council undertook to complete a staged sealing program of the Ruakapa Petuna Road. I would like to see Council stand by that decision from last year and allow that sealing program for the Ruakapa Petuna Road to be completed as scheduled. However, once that is completed, then remove the funding for the seal extensions for a three-year time frame, and review that in the 2024 annual plan. Footpaths and curbing. Option 2, I'd say if rural ratepayers are going to forego the sealing of gravel roads, well then urban ratepayers should forego the new footpaths and curb extensions. Again, that's a cost-saving measure on the rates. Greytown Play Space, decision 5, I'd support option 2. We're currently working through that spatial plan, which is looking at how our communities will grow in the future and look in the future over the next 30 years. Projects like this should be part of that longest scale planning for our towns. Now, some extra points I'd like to make. Projects that the council complete, there are some projects that council complete are as nice to have, while other projects are essential, i.e. our 3 waters. The priorities need to be identified and funded so that our infrastructure is fit for purpose for the future. Nice to haves can be funded later once the core infrastructure within our community has been sorted. Now, while at the Community Board's National Conference last month, I sat in on a number of presentations. One presentation was about safer communities who are working together to support and strengthen local community safety, resilience and wellbeing. There are currently 25 cities and councils across New Zealand who are accredited Safer Community Federation. South Wairarapa District Council was the 10th council in the country to be accredited. However, the umbrella organisation for that community council, which South Wairarapa Council was a part of, has since been suspended from that organisation. Safer Communities is described as being a network of networks which provides a platform and channel for central and local government to improve the wellbeing of New Zealanders, supporting resilient, safer and more connected communities. I would like the South Wairarapa District to become accredited to the Safer Community Federation New Zealand again, so that our towns can benefit from all the different funding, projects, options available through those different agencies and groups. Perhaps this might be a project that the council's new community development role could perhaps look into. Also, as a result of being at the Community Board Conference last month, I found, spoken to other delegates, that other communities and councils across the country have a police advisory group, which is a liaison between police and members of the community boards, communities and councils. At conference, the delegates who were involved with the police advisory group in their district spoke of how beneficial it was to have regular, scheduled and open dialogue with police in the areas which have been restructured and had resulted in less police cover than previously. I'd like to see a police advisory group established within the South Wairarapa so that there can be an improved liaison between police and the communities. Thanks so much. That's my LTP submission.
Move on straight on to the spatial, and then we can collate our questions.
So spatial plan submission. With regards to Martin, I'd like Martin Borough and council to be bold, be visionary. Don't try to expand by cramming more sardines into the can, i.e. more people into an already confined space, such as the ME zone, which is Cologne, Broadway, Venice and Sackville Street in Martinborough. That will destroy the feel and the vibe that our community already has within the town. What is interesting in the published growth options for Martinborough is that the zones which are currently utilised by vineyards around town have not been identified as expansion options, i.e. Princess Street and out to Hungarura and Puratonga roads. While these areas are currently in great production, the current owners, or some current owners, may not want to continue with their occupation, may want the option to subdivide down into smaller sections. From this document, there appears to be no thoughts for allowing this to occur. Property owners may want to continue producing grapes, and that's fine. However, give people in the community the opportunity to decide what paths they want to take. Utilise the spaces around Martinborough and the blank canvases that are already available for expansion to design subdivisions which have a number of different size sections so that we can attract diverse new residents to our town. We need to be attractive to low-paid, low-skilled workers, the middle class, the Wellingtonians who want to weekend it, which turns into their retirement home, and pensioners who want to retire off the farm or come to Martinborough to be close to family. Maryborough needs to be an inclusive community to those from all walks of life, and by having different sized properties, that will allow that diversity. Regarding the Greytown growth options, I was born and brought up in Greytown, so again, I would like to see the feel and the vibe of the community destroyed by intensive subdivision. The idea of allowing land to be subdivided to allow a potential of 1 to 10 dwellings on lots of 1,200 square metres or greater, or even up to 21 to 100 dwellings on lots of 1,200 square metres or greater, is taking intensification to the extreme. This will have a huge effect on Greytown. Again, allow properties to be subdivided into ranges of 400 square metres, 1,000 to 1,500 square metres, again, which will allow a wide variety of residents to move and build into Greytown. If an interim growth area needs to be opened up, utilise the existing areas to the north and south of that corridor out to Woodside Railway Station. Doing this will bridge that current gap between the railway station and the Greytown community. And opening up new areas for expansion and subdivision, design pedestrian links and improve footpaths so that there are easy walking routes into the centre of our communities to encourage exercise and reducing vehicle use. The spatial plan is a prime opportunity to develop some new practices. Who has heard of SIPTED? SIPTED is crime prevention through environmental design. These principles can be implemented at a planning stage to increase public safety and prevent crime. The spatial plan is the opportunity, the time and the place, the opportunity to implement new practices which will benefit our communities. Thanks.
Excellent, thank you. We've got 2 minutes left. Councillors, any questions? Mr. Aidan.
Yeah, Aidan, I was interested in the, what's the organisation that the policing that we've been suspended from? Was there a reason why it was suspended?
I don't know what the reason behind it was. I certainly, when I was in the police, I was aware that there was a safe community organisation, safe community council working within the South Wairarapa. And I think Terry Lenahan was the coordinator because we used to have a bit of liaison with her through when I was in the police. I had no idea that our membership had been suspended, but certainly from the presentation that I saw down in Gore, I think it would be a great opportunity to get back involved with.
Cool. Anyone? Yeah, sorry.
Just your comment on the subdivision of Greatland is we have this special requirement out there already. Do you see that there's a move in town to actually move out that direction?
No, I'm just looking at the plans in the paperwork here. The expansion plan is going to other directions away from the vineyards here in Maryborough. Yeah, there may well be some landowners of vineyard lands who may or may be restricted currently from pulling their vineyards out. And I mean, some people do want to pull their vineyards out, so they can want to store.
Councillor Fox.
Just you touched on a development along the Woodside corridor out towards the railway station. Do you see that there's a potential for development or Greytown should just head in that direction? It's not so much a new town around the railway station.
Well, there's certainly that project that was done by Wellington, Greater Wellington, about that expansion out and around this suburban townships. And I think, I mean, currently we've already got the railway station, push a corridor out, subdivide that area, and if we need to go out to that area, wider area outside around the railway station, do that as phase 2, phase 1 out that along that corridor, because it's already linked, it's already a route for a lot of residents for Greytown.
Thank you, Aidan. I'm going to have to call that to a wrap. Thank you very much for this.
Thanks, Aidan.
Thanks, Jason.
I now call Mel Maynard on behalf of the Maryborough Community Board. Sits on the LTP and the Spatial Plan.
So just have Amy with me as the deputy chair to assist and answer any questions.
Would you like a more comfortable chair?
So,
Just be polite.
Now, you're doing 2 submissions, so you'll get 10 minutes. We'll give you 2 knocks at 2. We do have both your submissions, and so if you're going to leave as much time for questions as possible, because they are very important for councillors. So over to you.
Right. So I am just expanding on the submission that we have already made. So regarding the 3 water networks in Martinborough, we agree with option 1 as the preferred option, with the exception being the rollout of smart meters. We believe that money can be saved within this space by delaying the rollout of smart meters until council has fixed the leaking water pipes throughout Martinborough. Council needs to manage the assets water conservation in the first instance and be a leader in this space before it looks to spend rates money on smart meters. Our Martinborough ratepayers have already paid for a rollout of water meters and the existing meters themselves. These do exactly the job you want them to. They measure the amount of water being used within a property boundary and exhibit this where it can be easily read simply by lifting the lid. To try and upgrade these at this time as a rates increase simply for the luxury of not walking to the footpath and reading the meter, a luxury many can't afford. I'm sure most ratepayers will agree to save on the rates for this unnecessary luxury and either have a rate relief or council should increase the spend on Martinborough's infrastructure issues below ground, where we all know a real issue exists for our waters. With the 3 water reform looming, we ask that council, as the holder of our ratepayer-owned assets, being the town's water reticulation services, ensure that before ownership is taken over by central government, a firm timeframe for its repair and improvement is agreed on between council and central government. If these assets are removed from council's ownership, it will be very hard for our small community to be heard at a central government level, and our need for this work is immediate. Ratepayers have again already paid for the assets in full. We should not allow anyone to take our infrastructure free of charge when its creation and management has been paid for by the Martinborough ratepayer. We know Martinborough's infrastructure expansion needs are immediate. Martinborough Township has been allowed to grow above ground even after it has exceeded the pipe's capabilities below ground. Martinborough is still being allowed to grow over and above its capability of its reticulation network, which, if not managed correctly, can be seen as irresponsible growth. Our drinking water and wastewater must be remedied to not only look after our town in the future, but to remedy the issues right now, which have been created by population growth exceeding our infrastructure capabilities. We would like council to have detailed timeframes for increasing the 3 water capabilities to match Martinborough's growth with urgency, so that we know council has this major issue for our town in hand, whether ownership is taken over by central government or not. For the big decision number 2 voting, we agree with option 2. So council made a commitment just last year to our rural community of Ruakaka-Petuna that following almost 30 years of little or few improvements being made to their road, that sealing would be completed at 1 kilometre per year. It is unfair to take this out for consultation, asking for a mandate from ratepayers to stop this without advising all South Wairarapa District Council ratepayers of the promise council has already made to the Ruakaka-Petuna community and why they made this commitment. This commitment should have already been budgeted in the annual plan 2021. So there should be no calculated rates increase applied to this other than that already prescribed. And we would expect this to be planned into future roading budgets when looking ahead. The Martinborough Community Board would also like to see safety trials implemented in spaces within Martinborough that have safety issues. These areas are best to be decided by the Community Board, since we regularly receive safety information and requests from throughout our community. We feel the NZTA and Innovative Street Fund has been a lost opportunity for Martinborough to explore real road safety issues within the wider town by not engaging with the Martinborough Community Board for options in the first instance. This has resulted in a plan being created with a focus so narrow that real safety issues can't be explored within Martinborough using the Innovative Street Fund money. This would include investigating safety options for known issues at the corner of State Highway 53 at Kitchener and Princey Street, the pedestrian crossing on Jellicoe Street by Venice Street, the pedestrian crossing outside the Martinborough Primary School on the heavy traffic bypass, the Martinborough Kindergarten on Robert Street, as well as other areas identified around town. Regarding bid decision number 3 and funding on footpaths, that actually stands as is. The only thing that we've changed in there is the comment made about laying when fibre, the laying of fibre takes place. We actually mean when there's planned outages on council owned assets where they have the capability to do this. As with bid decision number 1, this has the potential to create another immediate rates relief and cost savings into the future. Now, if I can just skip down to bid decision number 6, because the others will stand, as we've already stated, removing Greytown's recycling station. As this council has declared that we are in a climate crisis, Martinborough Community Board believes this is not something that should be being built into a long-term plan until Greytown's spatial plan and areas for growth are determined by the Greytown community. To remove a recycling station, which the town is already using when the town is growing and therefore has an increased need, does not seem fair. Maybe council should be looking to expand its services instead. This could be an opportunity to create a new revenue stream and help meet council's sustainability requirements and actions since the climate crisis was declared. Martinborough Community Board would actually like to see more recycling and waste initiatives investigated district-wide, as there is a real desire within our community to be more sustainable. If the removal of the Greytown Recycling Centre goes ahead and a cost to do it all again somewhere else in Greytown is raised in the future because they